is. That meant get your posture right. And that would be it. And he would just start.
All right. So joining us here on a tour coach, we've been doing these live lately. I don't know why, but we got some microphones here too to go around. Kind of hold these for the live version. It's at a retreat down here at Old Palm. Will McFadden, you've had more airtime lately than Howard Cosell. Of course, he's dead, so I guess you'd have to. But my good boy Coop,
Donald be here for the dead cast.
And our boy Brady Riggs in from California here. We're going to talk a little golf, and I'd like to start it off tonight. I want to do a takeoff of what Luke said the other night, which was he talked about the two, I called them imperatives. I think he called them essentials to playing great golf, and he talked about curving it one way, never missing it the opposite way, and making putts inside 6 feet. All of us have been around great players. McFadden, obviously, on your way up. You've played with a bunch of great players. I want to start with Coop, with you. Actually, I'll start with Brady.
All right.
Since you got the mic.
Yes, sir.
From your experience around all the great players you've been around, AK, all of them, what are some of the essentials, or what are some of the qualities that you think that players need to succeed at the very highest level?
Well, I'd start with something Tommy Armour III told me one time, who was in professional golf for, 4 decades or something at least. And Tommy said that the difference between a tour player and a really good amateur is that a tour player is comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that's a big deal about playing really good golf, is being able to handle the stress and the nerves that go with that and still execute. It's not an easy thing to do. I don't know if anybody could ever explain how to do that.
It's hard to accept failure. It's real hard.
It's just being able to execute when it's on the line is a big deal. You know, a lot of us can hit shots when it doesn't count, but hitting them when it does is a different story. And then the other thing I think is, especially with the game now, like, you've got to be able to miss the driver in the right place. You don't have to hit every fairway, but you just can't be blowing it in the direction you don't want it to go. So I think that's a big deal, is being able to hit the driver. If there's trouble right,
eliminate one side.
Yeah, just blow it left if you need to blow it left. You don't have to hit the fairway.
Yeah, I like that.
Those are two things I think right off the bat that are really important.
I think, like, when I look at young people coming up, we teach them to drive it, curve it one direction. And I think that with all the technology out there, I'll give a shout out to like the Bushnell Launch Pro or
for sure,
whatever, the ability to really dial in wedge distances and become really proficient inside 100 yards. And when I watch kids or people that are really good at each level as they go up, I see like a bunch of kids, a bunch of people that have a lot of power. They're very good golf swings. They're very good players. But then you watch the guys that like, so to me, if I go to a mini tour event and then I went to a PGA Tour Americas event, then I went to a Korn Ferry event, and I went to a PGA Tour event, I would bet the distances off the tee almost go down as you go up a little bit, because they learn to hit a shot and to fit things in. But I would guarantee you that their ability inside 100 yards to hit their number, and then Brady, like the stuff you're going to show folks tomorrow, the ability to control which side of the hole they miss it on and hit it on gets better and better.
Or where they want to be. Yeah,
where they want to be. Let's get Coop, from your years caddying, obviously out there with Lucas and other guys. You've watched not only Lucas, who unbelievable player, you guys won a major, one of our good friends, but you've walked alongside Tiger, you've walked alongside all these great players. What are the qualities that you saw in their game that separated them from others?
I'd like the wedge thing you're talking about. The worst wedge player on tour is better than anybody that you probably know. I mean, really,
Good point.
Truly, like, it's dialed in so much that it's almost mechanical. I don't know how to explain it, in a sense that it's going to be right where they're looking, pretty much, if it's 120 or in. And what's been the focus, which I see you guys doing now, is teaching the drive off the tee to know where your ball's going off the tee, and then focus on that wedge game. And before long, we got something to work with. Not because they're all pretty good with the long irons. I mean, how dialed in can you get with a 4-iron? Well, that's a question that can't be, specific person can hit the ball. The wedge game now is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, like how many 4-irons you really hitting around, right? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they hit
That's
some.
what I was trying to get. No,
Yeah.
but like these young students now, their wedge game, it is really today, 110 degrees.
Easily in the shade.
Really a good day if something isn't going well to maybe say my hip, my whatever, but everyone dedicated to finishing. I mean, I saw some golf today that was incredible. Some advances in what a certain player has, can do, how far they can go in like a year.
You got to give a shout out to the girl Lexi, who's only played a little over a year.
Amazing.
And her ability to do that. McFadden, you've been around these a bunch. You've come to golf camp a bunch. You've come to golf camp with us with the other guys that play professionally. You've been around Lucas. You've been around Luke Guthrie a bunch. Where in your game do you need to get better to get where you're trying to go? You signed up for Q school today.
Yep.
There we go. How about that? Congrats.
Took a bit, but
yeah.
do
you have a caddy by chance?
He's got a caddy. The question is, does he want to use it? I'm ready.
But just like y'all just said, talking about some of the kids in their wedge games now, like there's 2 kids that are here this week that have completely different golf games now than when I first saw them. And one of the kids started a few years ago. Saw him down in, I think it was in the Keys first time, and could barely. It was Alejandro,
yeah, great. He's going to play college golf. Who would have thought that a while back?
When I first saw him,
Brady saw him way back at Frederica.
I did
before I got thrown out of that joint.
I mean, if he listens to this, like he'll appreciate it. But like when he was out there at the Keys that first time, like he could barely keep it on the range with a 7-iron. Like it was crazy.
And there was a net on the range.
And now today, I got the pleasure to play with him the last 2 days, and he absolutely strikes it. He hit a 4-iron yesterday to 3 feet on number 9, made an eagle, and it's coming off flush and pure, and I mean, he is really.
Franklin College in Indiana has gotten a steal on Alejandro Ortiz. And that school and that coach, he's been watching. I know he's looking at some of our guys. That guy's doing a good job because he's finding guys that can hit it and figuring he can teach them to play. I'll give that important. And that's important.
And
right?
I just want to give a shout out to you for letting Caroline participate last week. It was like a game changer.
Well, we're fired up. We're fired up about her. She's a good young college player. She's got a bright future. We're going to keep helping.
Yeah, and to get back to the question you asked, I just wanted to put that out there for y'all, how impressive it is with some of these kids are doing these days. But for me, with my game, like what I need to get better between now and August for Q school, I think I've got to drive it a little bit better. Kind of what y'all said a little while ago. I feel like I hit it shorter now than I did in high school. I actually know that for a fact.
Fair enough.
That I hit it shorter now than I did in high school, and hit it a lot straighter. But I'd say that's definitely a key, is more fairways.
That's why it's shorter. That's hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the way my wedge game is going. It's gotten a lot better over the last year, but as always, it can never be.
I don't think you can ever be good enough to not work on it as hard as you can.
So Brady, I always pick your brain. I had you help me yesterday with Emilio came in. I always like another set of eyes. I think I'm not one of those people that's too proud to say, like, I don't think I know everything. I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room, especially not this room. And I love another set of eyes from somebody I trust. Just say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And you watched me with Emilio the other day. You pitched in a couple things. We had a great session. You've been hanging out here for a few days, and you've hung around now. You've watched Will out there.
Yes. What
advice would you give Will preparing as an outsider who has a great knowledge of the game and a knowledge of how we work? What would your advice be to him preparing for Q school?
I mean, you have to trust your talent. You really want to just dive into the things you're really, really good at.
Look, Guthrie, listen.
You got to believe in yourself. I know it sounds kind of like a generic term, but it really comes down to your belief system and what you do, and trying to be great at the things you're really great at. Don't worry about the things you're not that great at. Half the time you could avoid those.
It's almost like you need a level of cockiness
Absolutely.
to do what you want to do at that level.
And I've struggled with that in the past, as being super self-confident. And
Right.
it's one thing since I've turned pro has kind of been something I've really had to work on.
Yeah.
Just really like knowing that when I tee it up, like I've got a chance to win each week when I tee it up. And so that's been different, but absolutely
You got to double down. And like Coop said, like you want to have a chip on your shoulder when you play. It doesn't have to come out like Anthony Kim back in the day, where
you're hurt anyone's
no, you just need to carry yourself and believe in yourself in that way. And I think I forget who was saying this. This is years ago. He said he was looking at his weaknesses statistically on tour, and he was trying to get better in the areas that he wasn't as good as he thought he needed to be. Mm-hmm. But in the process of doing that, he stopped being as good in the areas where he was better than everybody else. So
declining in performance in a sense.
Yeah, you don't want to walk away from the things that got you to the tour. It's like Tony and I worked with a player a few years ago, and he was getting better all the time, keeping improving his performance. But after the year was over, he wanted to try and hit it even further than he was hitting it, and that was the wrong place to go.
That's because he got hooked up working with that idiot.
That's true.
Same initials as me, TR.
Keep a big picture. Focus on, take a selfie, but focus on the big picture,
Yeah, if you're a great iron player, keep being a great iron player. Don't try to all of a sudden be the best driver on tour and lose the thing that makes you great. Right. Stick with the things that you're really, really good at, double down on those, and believe in yourself. And if you do that, you can play great golf when it counts. And like we were saying, that's the hardest thing to do.
That's the thing that a great amateur can't do that
exactly
a pro can do is, going to the tee on a Thursday and something's missing. You don't know from these guys that are pros that are touring. It doesn't show up. And I think it's from the confidence in the things that they do well. When they walk to the first tee, it's like, I'm going to do one thing well today. Therefore, I can make up, focusing on one thing is good for a short period, but work on the whole game. I love seeing guys practice changing clubs. I don't know why. I think that's a great way to practice instead of machine gunning 25-7 iron. You don't do that when you play. Hit me a driver and then let's draw it, maybe cut the next shot. I think that'll it just makes the mind work a little bit, getting creative and then pulling off the shot instills confidence.
Speaking of practice, which I think is where Coop was going with this, Brady, one of the things I picked your brain on a bunch. I texted you not long ago for a combine for a player of mine. Coop was talking to me in the car this evening about like some of your practice stuff. You're going to do some combine work. I think one of the things that you're the very best at, and I share it with a lot of them. And Will, I think tomorrow you're going to be there for a little bit, like watching some of his practice. He mentioned tonight on the car ride home while he was toting me and Coop around, somebody's got to take care of us, right? Coop?
Somebody's got to drive us around. Don't drive it in the shrubs. He drives it right down the middle of the fairway.
He said, like, I saw that putt stuff. I didn't get to go through it. And I said, well, Brady will show you the putt and combine stuff in the morning. Sure. Talk a little bit about the combine work you're going to do tomorrow. I think this is fantastic for people wanting to improve their game because a lot of people could get better just by practicing better. I mean, obviously, I think the teachers and coaches, it shouldn't be all about numbers, shouldn't be all about trying to just change stuff. We should also be helping you, guide you how to practice and prepare and perform better. Talk a little bit about your combine stuff. It's awesome.
Well, just a brief backstory on the combines was that I'd say the first 15 years of me teaching, I was that guy on the range with his JC video out under the tent, working full swing. I was at a public course. It was super busy. Couldn't get on the golf course with people. Short game area was terrible. So I was doing full swing on the range. That's kind of how I was teaching. And I think it helped some people along the way doing that. But when my daughter stopped playing soccer and she decided she wanted to play golf competitively, she was a junior in high school. And I'm like, man, I've got to fast forward this
Now,
process.
yeah.
I've got to
Yeah.
get her good
Yes.
quickly. And so basically she had already developed a pretty good swing. So it was on the course. And then when she wasn't on the course, it was a bunch of different competitive practices to simulate the stress of as much as possible playing golf.
That's
So now with every area of the game, I believe in some block practice, hitting a few shots and working on your mechanics. But after that, I want to get things into competitive spaces where you've got to be creative, you've got to think on the fly, and where there's a number attached to the end where you feel stress. And if you're not feeling stress when you're practicing, you're basically recreating.
I've never heard anybody talk about that.
Yeah, you want to be stressed out. I want you to be more uncomfortable in the combines than you are even sometimes on the
Right.
course.
And people don't mention that, but I get asked sometimes about Bethpage, what the feeling was, and it was numb. Like I didn't see a soul. I didn't see one person. And I think that's what you're getting to, that it doesn't matter what the situation.
Right.
It's like you got to perform, and all that's got to not matter.
Yeah, and you need to train that, and I think
I've never heard anyone want to practice. That's
it's fun. I mean, I think it's really good too as a group to work on stuff like that because you can give each other a hard time. There's a lot of pressure with your peer group where
I've
you're
always
working
really
on
think,
that.
Like I think when a pro calls the shot, I love it. Like,
Yeah.
Boys, you want a little cut in there, and you give it to them. That makes you confident.
Right. It's kind of funny. All the
Other
stuff we're
people can say
talking about,
cocky, but
cocky, chip on your shoulder, believing in
Right.
yourself, executing under pressure, being comfortable when you're uncomfortable. That all needs to be trained. If you think you're just going to roll out onto the first tee of Q school after looking great inside a studio or hitting numbers on a TrackMan, you're wrong.
The most thing I miss about caddying is that feeling. Unassured, not knowing what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
First tee jitters. I love it. I miss it.
Emilio said to me today on the practice holes, we went out and hit some practice holes, and he asked how you were doing and good to see you and blah, blah, blah. And told him you were getting ready to go, signing up for Q school. And he said, man, I may call. So look, let's not bust it for Emilio if he calls you, right? But like he said, I may call him and just tell him, like, the biggest thing I learned about Q school is that, like, the week or two before, like, quit beating balls and just go play a bunch of golf.
Totally.
Right. And he said, and it was interesting. He said, and then when I got there, I realized, like, I got 72 holes. There's no cut. Like, I needed to relax and just go play golf. I had 4 rounds. Right. And I think that's good advice for you. And I think you've done amazing work over the last 6 months. We worked on getting your club face more square. His club face had gotten open, and he kind of would scrunch going down and twist the face open a little.
And all that takes energy.
And he's back. He's tall. He's in his posture. Face is square, and he's doing all this stuff to hit a draw. Like, I think now he's just got to focus on, like, shooting scores and going and playing golf.
I think that's great advice, man. Playing golf, play your way into big events. You don't want to be on that range. The range is where games go to die.
I think Will's done all that work. I think it's there. Like we're talking about, he just needs to instill some confidence. And somebody's going home with ass whooping. I'm just telling you, I've seen it. I mean, it's there. And the same with Luke. I didn't get to spend that much time with Will.
We had to split y'all up.
Luke and I kind of got in a groove today, and I felt like he was too broad-minded today. It's kind of an open course, and he was frustrated with drives I thought they were brilliant. I'm like, what was wrong with it? He goes, well, I wanted it to. I go, well, let's do it. Let's, and it made me feel good. I tell you, let's start it at that and have it not cross that. Just make it fall left if you want. It doesn't have to draw. And then,
he pipes. He swing. Luke Guthrie's swinging the best
as I've seen him.
I've seen him swing in the 10 years I've known.
I will agree. Every shot I called, he hit.
At one point,
except for one.
Before he worked with us way back, he was a top 60 player in the world coming out of Illinois. Phenomenal talent. You talk about a guy got lost a little bit. He's swinging as good right now and as free as I've ever seen him. And you talk about a nice, human being
Very
and a
nice
guy
guy.
that you
So-
could pull
so-
for.
so a guy that you put a poster in your room of him. I mean, superhero. I mean, in his games there, and when I hear a guy that good say, I mean, he's like a superhero in my opinion. The guy's like genuine
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
and he's honest, and he says something, you can believe it. And just watching somebody hit a good golf shot and then mumbling, walking away, it's like, I got to step in. Like, what was wrong with that? And being honest, it didn't end up falling right. Well, then I know now why you're mad, and we can work on that. Let's talk the shot out. I think by yourself, he's a competitive player. He's usually got a caddy. So therefore, like you were talking about, practice like you play.
Mm-hmm.
He has caddy. I stepped in there and helped him a little bit with some targets. And man, I mean, it was like I would have paid today. Now,
Right.
Will usually, I mean, he's like, I don't focus on Will because I know his youth is like, even if he does hit a bad shot, it's only going to make him angry for a little bit. But like Luke, he's a veteran. He's been through a lot.
He's got some scar tissue. He talked about it on here.
Yeah, he needs to. He's going to get something that's going to happen that's going to be really good. I can feel it.
Pay attention if you're watching out there listening. Luke Guthrie, something good's going to happen to him. I'm excited about it.
It's for real.
Putting, Brady, you watched you with you did some aim point stuff with a girl we had in this afternoon.
Right.
Some tips for putting practice, guiding people through putting practice.
Yes. So organization really matters,
Organization.
Organization of putting,
Right.
like how do you spend that time?
Mhm.
So I think the start of that is start line. Get the ball started on the line you're intending.
Mhm.
If you can't do that, you're not going to make anything.
Would you recommend maybe like that? I love that tool with the two BBs.
Yes. So that's like a Pell's putting tutor.
From the kitchen.
From the
Coop.
kitchen, pouring some wine. Coop's on it. I like
Good year.
Derek Ueda's putting plate is the one I use. I love
Yep,
that.
okay.
And Shoffley's coach. 5 minutes on that. That's good. If you can get started through that gate and do 9 in a row, get
You
rid
don't
of it.
have to sit there and do an hour on
No,
it.
no.
Once
If you can do
start
9,
online.
once you can do it, you can do it. And then once you do that, something maybe to work on speed. We do some different types of drills for speed. And then I go jumping into combines right away, which is my favorite one is a 3-6-9.
Take us through this.
So 5 holes. We set
Will's
down.
gonna do it tomorrow.
I'll
First
set up
time
Will
I'd ever
tomorrow.
seen it.
So
I gotta
5
do it.
holes. We do a 3-footer, 6-footer, 9-footer on every hole. Just 3 putts per hole. PGA Tour average 3 feet and in is 99%.
Dialing in that speed.
We want to make all those. 6 feet is about 66%. So we try to make 3 out of 5. And then the 9-footer is a little worse than 50%. So we try to make 2 out of 5. So par is simply 10. Full routine. If you use the line on the ball, we want you to use the line. If you're an aim point guy,
Practice
great.
like we play.
If you want to do practice, whatever it is, I want that putt to look exactly like it would look in a tournament.
Maybe to the point of if they don't, the ball has to end up. If they don't do part of their routine, then they start over.
100%. If there's a distraction, there's a horn blows or something, then you start over again. But we want those full routine, full commitment. And it's only 15 putts, but you care about each one. And I promise you, most people hitting 6-footers on the putting green don't care about the result because it's just another 6-footer. Where we want all those putts to mean something. And by having a scorecard in your pocket and you're marking down the ones that you're making and the ones that you're missing, and you're sending me that scorecard at the end where you're sending me a picture of it. Here's how I did on 3-6-9 today.
Makes you learn how important.
Yeah, it gets you accountable, So that type of practice, if you do 5 minutes on the plate, maybe 10 minutes on speed, and then you do a 3-6-9 drill, maybe do 2 of those, that's 25, 30 minutes of practice.
Easy.
But it's completely organized and very purposeful.
All aspects of putting.
And that's what you're trying to do. You really want to spend that time productively. So you don't have to stay out there for 2.5 hours putting. Nobody can concentrate that long on a green. But if you spend 30 minutes and you're breaking it up, it can be incredibly effective. So that's huge,
That's
I think,
Well,
for players.
and I do the same in full swing as far as I like to structure practice to where, like if you've got 2 drills you do, you count out 10 balls, 10 balls, 10 balls, and you hit 10 balls, and every 5 balls you do whatever drill with a band. Obviously, I use a lot of band pivot pack. Get them, please. Brady
We
got
gotta
you
get
got your
more
pivot.
Carolina.
I got my
today.
pivot pack.
You-
I feel different already.
You think
I
you
changed it.
you think I could
You
talk you
see
into doing a post with one out in California?
Oh, there's no question. I'm gonna.
Perfect. But so say you're doing like Emilio. So let's take Emilio for example.
Okay.
And it's on Instagram, by the way. But you can turn, where he would do the rehearsal, he turned to the top and he pulled his toes off his right foot.
Right.
So he could do 10 balls doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And the next 10, the next 10 might be where he had the band across his knees and he felt his right hip going deeper. Well, then the third 10 to me would be changing clubs and targets every shot, right? One be a driver at a target where he's trying to hold it and it not cross left. The next might be a 7-iron where he's trying to, he's trying to draw it and it can't, wherever, right?
That's the brain practicing decision.
And like to me, if you did 30 or say you did 20 balls, whatever, it's 30 or 60 balls. That's a hell of a practice because you'd be completely engaged, you'd be focused, and you'd be working on the stuff you're trying to work on separate and segmented, and then you're trying to apply it to what goes on the golf course.
Absolutely.
Like if you did like your putting combine and you did your chipping stuff, and then you did practice like that, you could go out there in 2.5 hours, have an unbelievable practice that's way more focused, and you'd get better. Instead of the guy that hits, we've all known the guys that hits balls for 4 hours. They come off, they're soaking wet, their white shirts
And
brown from sweating through.
less confident than when they got there.
I used to always say, I remember one time telling Smiley, man, like if you hit balls long enough, you're going to hit till they're shitty.
You know what I saw something.
By the way, shout out to Smiley on how good he's doing.
Smiley, you are awesome. I hate TV, but I love watching you. You are wonderful. I used to with like Patrick Berg. I want to shout out to somebody that taught me a bunch about the game. He would do on Wednesday a practice round, and we'd do each and every one tee. We hit what we thought we would. We replicated a practice round, but everything was positive because of course we didn't putt out. It was just the shots, but he left that range feeling good. And I'd sometimes say, man, we just shot 62. Probably gonna win. Just it was a good practice. It was quick, but effective.
Let me ask you this question, Coop. This is a total caddy question. How important did you feel like it was how they hit the ball on the range before they went to play around?
I never watched really. I paid real good attention on Wednesday, like what looking at everything, mostly posture and where the ball was with each club. I knew if those were there that it's probably going to be pretty good, but I didn't pay attention to that because some of the ones I focused on, it was the opposite outcome. Great warm up, and then not so great on the court.
What about that practice round at Harbortown where he had the chance to shoot like below 60
and missed it? Yeah,
and missed it, and you had said on the 18th tee, we might as well get a flight home on Friday. And he shit.
And that's just a caddy thing. It's like our thing was Liz, and she'd be like, Cooper, what's going on? I'm like, I need to get a flight out of here. In a jokingly way. Why? What's going on? Does it look okay? Yeah, we just shot 57 on Wednesday. It doesn't matter. I think the preparation coming in before is much more important as the warm-up session before the round.
What would you do before a round if a guy was freaking out on the range and not hitting it good? Did you ever have any situation?
Yeah. I had a real quick story. A friend of mine, Vaughn Taylor, Monday qualified.
Vaughn is the best.
Virginia Beach. I ended up, the guy I was caddying for either was hurt or something, didn't show up. So Vaughn asked me to caddy. And I've caddied for him, and he played great. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the forecast is just 100% chance of showers all day long. No lightning, no thunder. You're going to play golf. He shows up with a carry bag we had all week. He goes, man, I'm sorry. And he goes, for what? I don't have a rain cover and everything's going to be wet. I said, take this sand wedge, go to the range, start warming up there in a minute. Go to the cart barn, 4 giant garbage bags. Put the bag in 2, put 2 over the top, go out there and say, Got another excuse? I mean, we're going to do it. And he played great. Never looks at a leaderboard, Vaughn.
Really?
Yeah, so you know his focus is top 10, top 10, top 10. Well, I know he's got a great chance to win with 3 to play. Birdie's the 16th. And I'm like, all right. Well, Michael Long's playing really good. But Long goes, man, you know, just hunker down here on these last holes. You know, I'm thinking I've been hunkering my ass down all day long. I ain't quitting on you. And, you know, he misses this putt on 18 and he looks at that leaderboard and he looked at me and kind of was like missed winning by 2 shots. You know, that was his way of blocking everything out, and I was like pumped for him. He became, you know, to be VT. Great player.
VT, great career.
He's the best. Hey, VT.
VT.
But
I enjoy hanging out with him.
you know,
He likes fishing.
There's always somebody. It's easy to have an excuse. You know, Patrick one day came in work and he's like, might not play well today. I'm like, how's that? He goes, well, the dog barked all night. I went, dude, one time, you know, when I was young, I stayed up for like 3 days. I was like, you'll be fine. That's nothing. Come up with something else. You know, it's just easy to have a crutch.
Will, last question. We'll go you and then Brady. So tell us what we're going to do. Get ready for Q school. What's your plan? We got what? Two? We have 2 months.
How long is it now? It used to be 6 days.
No.
Now it's
What is this?
4 days at each stage.
And where are you playing?
I'm going to start in Greenville, Alabama.
Pre-Q?
Pre-Q. Yeah.
All right.
Unless I'm exempt. I'm not.
All right.
I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
he should be exempt because he finished inside the top 30 in America school.
Yeah.
So PGA Tour, if you're listening and you actually like us, go ahead and
Right.
help Will McFadden.
I mean,
Jay.
I think between now and September to get ready, I gotta just keep doing a lot of the same things that I'm doing right now. I mean, I feel like over the last year it's continued to get better, and I don't see any reason why it can't keep doing that. So I've enjoyed it. I feel like we've got a good plan in place, and I'm just gonna keep trusting the process of that plan and keep going.
And I think you ought to spend, not just because I like having you around and Coop around. Like, I think you ought to spend as much time as you can down and around good players, good places.
That's why I've been here for a month.
It's only been 10 days. But who's counting? But I do think I do think that's good for you.
Watching, you know, I watched a lot of good golf, and I think that you learn a lot about it. Not that you can replicate doing it, but you learn it. He can replicate it, and I think it's a big deal. Like when we get the kids that want to run off and kind of not pay attention, I think they're hurting themselves by not watching the other kids or whatever even fail. You know, it's like I can see why that didn't work.
Brady, parting shots from the weekend, the podcast, whatever.
You know, every time I come out to a school with you,
The east side.
It's always fun because Coop's got it.
Is that sign language?
I always learn something, you know.
I learned a lot today.
I learn a lot working with you. You know, I always give you a hard time about your pivot pack.
I wish this was longer because I wanted to talk about his stuff. Like today when I walked up,
Well, we can keep going.
what you had set up, I've never seen that. I haven't seen it.
I appreciate that.
And it was like, I've always thought that speed is so important. and
How
don't
cool
see
is that,
people-
though? You've caddied for how long? Been around
For
the
a
game?
long time.
Right.
Longer than most people.
He came up to me this evening and I think we had just gotten here. He goes, man, stuff Brady was doing on the greens. I want to talk more about that. But like he's still trying to learn.
That's why
He's
he's
won
great.
a major.
Yeah.
Multiple wins, all that stuff.
I mean,
He's
I've
still
heard it about
fascinated with
Brady,
learning.
but I've never
And
seen it
a
about
shout out to you, especially though he's still fascinated with helping people.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I am. I like today that question I asked you.
Right. You ask great questions.
It was a question that it was like it could make you out to be dumb, maybe, or
Not at all.
but the answer I got, and I will talk about this next one. It was like, God knows what he's doing.
Yeah, the one thing that Coop was watching some of the kids doing was we put a ghost hole out there. One of those.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
We had the ghost hole on a like a 3% slope, and so we had 10-footer left to right downhill and right to left uphill, and I was trying to get players to stop the ball on the ghost hole, which is really tough. So they're having to match up the speed and the brake.
Has to enter at like 9 o'clock.
And it's got to be just like the last roll has got to get on it. And it's amazing when they first start how they have no control over the speed.
I was like, how attached is this golfer to that golf ball? It was unreal.
And they start rolling, and now they're stopping it on the edges, and they're getting really good. And
fascinating.
And every single one of them ended up getting it on
the
ghost hole.
None of them would ever.
Yeah, I didn't. It was challenging, but it was neat to watch them just start to be totally creative and be completely connected to what the goal was instead of thinking about their
That's like teaching what you need to compete on the PGA Tour. Like that's how in control you have to be over that nugget. I mean, you got to know where it's going.
And Coop, I'd ask you, like, so during that Open, right, were there some putts that were so fast and so slopey that he was having to die that ball last half roll into the top edge, right?
The thing that fascinated me is all the rain that we got that week. The greens were rolling 14, and they are, and you're standing over there, you're totally confident in what the guy's doing, but there's a little bit of doubt in my mind. If he had that, we wouldn't have won. Lucas had no doubt. Like, and I always knew for some reason he talked about the other event he played there before, how he felt about the outcome of it, and for some reason it felt like he should have won that tournament. I don't know why. It's just weird. I think I worked for him so much that I felt like, yeah, he could win this easily.
Same way at the PGA that year I was there, like you just knew he was going to play good.
Yeah, I don't know how and why, but you just got a feeling like these two match. And then you have the feeling sometimes like we should never come back here.
I've seen those places.
Like his condo. Right? His condo. Brady, awesome stuff. This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks again, Tony, for having me. Like I was saying about your pivot pack, I give you a hard time, but every time I come, it's fun watching you incorporate something new. And like you were saying about Coop, who never stops learning. I know you don't ever stop learning. I don't ever stop. I mean, I look back 10 years ago and I think, man, I wasn't very good at what I was doing. 20 years back, I'm like, I was horrible 20 years ago.
My favorite reason for doing this is to take people that I care about and that I trust and I believe in and I know are smarter than me, and like to get us all together so we can help people. But like I got a chance to teach with you, who I have enormous respect for, and like, to pick your brain, like, but it's great for the student, right? And you get all these people that like want to stand there and they say, I got the answer. I'm a big dick dog and all that. And, like that. And like, let's help the people in front of us. Let's create some good content. And
can we set up something for the next one?
Yes.
Because I always wonder about one quote or one lesson that could destroy somebody.
Wait, you mean the next podcast?
No, let's do one on that. Like, how are you guys confident in telling somebody, you need to change this?
We'll do that.
You could run them away from golf with some wrong or bad information.
That's a good one. We'll do that.
I
know
y'all
some people that have done it.
Watch these guys work. It's
same initials.
It's good.
Terry. All right, guys, everybody, appreciate everybody sitting in. Brady, thanks for making the trip to California. Coop, thanks for driving down through the middle of the night. Unbelievable. Willie, thanks for staying here for 47 days.
Yeah, thanks for living here. All right, I think that was good. I feel better about this one.